Well, thanks for joining us. I'm excited to have my friend Sarah Overby with us today. And we actually know each other for quite a long time, but we got connected as a church last fall when Sarah was doing some really amazing work down at the refugee camp down in Mexico. And as a church, got invited to begin to start a long-term partnership with that. And the church's response was incredible out the gate. I mean, I remember over 500 toys and blankets, multiple trips down there. And since then, it's only just continued to grow and develop. So Sarah, I was wondering if you could just give us an update on what's gone on the last few months, kind of where we are, and just some of the new projects and things that are happening down at the camp.
Yeah, so as Benji mentioned, it really began as like just that first seed that was planted of getting Christmas gifts to kids and blankets on cold people and getting shoes. And so that was the initial piece. And with that, just generous sort of outpouring in the very beginning, from that sort of sprouted all these other amazing projects and things that have just developed and grown since that first beginning several months ago. And so it's been really exciting for me to have a front row seat in seeing volunteers from the church come and seeing actual individuals from the church with different talents and vision and just a heart when they go to be a part and fill in some of the gaps that are existing at the camp. So since about December, one of the things that Light Church has been able to come alongside and support is some of that infrastructure development that really needed to happen. Like as the camp has grown and more people are coming, there hasn't been a school available for children. And so there's just been, for a long time, Pastor Gustavo's had a huge dream to build a school, to have the land for that school, so that the kids, instead of spending months, being uneducated, have an opportunity to get an education. And so that's probably been one of the larger sort of things that's happened since Light Church kind of came in and partnered with him. And so the land got bought and the school is being built, and it will be opening in the end of August. And it's really groundbreaking because it's the only one of its kind in the area. So typically those children come into the area, they're really marginalized, and they have no opportunity for education. So this is a huge piece. And then for me, just watching the volunteers come and pour in, from ESL volunteers to, we just recently had a big shoe drive where an open table got together and saw that kids didn't have shoes and gathered close to 800 pairs of shoes. It was just so huge. And the relationships that have been built, and also, just really, it's not even as, blankets and needs have been met, it's the relationships too that have been built. And Pastor Gustavo even said to me, over time, Light Church has become our family. Mm-hmm. And that's how we see you guys here, is you are always welcome. Our door is always open because everyone knows that you're with us as family. And that's what I've seen more than anything, is this sort of camaraderie and companionship come alongside him and the people there.
Yeah, I think from the very beginning that was our goal, was like a long-term relationship. And watching that move from kind of a larger decision as a church, and how it's kind of just funneled into friends and open tables and relationships. Mm-hmm. I thought it'd be cool. I think one thing that's been fun is watching people connect the dots with their passion with something that could be really beautiful. That maybe could just tell even what happened like last weekend with Riley's group and her vision.
Sort of thing. And I think, when we initially began this and got in front of the church and shared the need, something, the Bible talks often about how, it talks about the analogy of scattering seed on fertile soil. And I think, this soil is very fertile, but people sat there listening and really thought, how can I use the talent that God's given me, or the vision and dreams that God's given me, to really partner and scatter that seed on this soil to develop deeper relationships, to bring love, God's love to these people. And so one of those people was Riley, who goes to the church. She's involved with Christian surfers, and she's listening to this and thinking, how amazing would it be to get these kids out in the waves? And so she reached out and gathered some volunteers and just really headed up the start of a surf ministry to these kids. And so we just recently had the first one. There were tons of wetsuits, probably like 60 wetsuits or more donated. We had boards donated, volunteers showed up, and we had close to 30, maybe like 28 kids and moms too, get up on waves and surf, and just be able to like take the burden off for a few hours and just run in the water and get up on a board, and just to see that there really is a space in all of this coming together as a family with Pastor Gustavo and these people. There's a space for people who are saying, hey, I'm a dentist and I'd love to be involved and do something there, or whatever the talent is. It's been really neat to see the church just kind of raise their hand and say, I want to head this up and I want to bring some people in to do it. So it's been really, really cool.
You mentioned kind of lifting the burden off. The things I hear every time people come back is the stories. Can you just talk a little bit about the people that are in this camp? Like, what are some of the things that they've gone through that have brought them to this camp? And I know you can't share every story, but maybe just to give, if people are unaware of like how this kind of came about, like what are some of the things that would cause someone to end up there? Yeah,
so really the main sort of, as we listen to people's stories and they share, and even the other day when the shoe crew came, there were people there that was sharing their stories of human trafficking, having people, young women around them, they would disappear and never be seen again, and they knew that they were being threatened with this, or just local violence. I know in Haiti right now there's many Haitian refugees, and they've shared that they didn't have a home. The infrastructure was completely broken. There was a lot of violence within the streets. There was no running water, electricity. People were getting sick, no hospitals for their children. And so they make their way over to Brazil, and then they cross through 11 countries over 5 to 6 months, paying as they go, making money as they go to get themselves to Tijuana. And so the journey that these people take, there's always risks of trafficking even along the way. Many people have come from Michoacan, Mexico. I think the majority of them have at this time, and they have issues with the cartel taking their land to steal avocados. And then the other issue is that a lot of families come with their teen girls because the cartel try to take the girls for their sons. And many of them have told us that they've had to hide in their homes and leave in the dark of the night because of how much they've been trying to get their daughters from the home. So there's just a lot of violence, trafficking, and danger that they're escaping from.
Yeah. It's, if you get a chance to go, even just hearing this, I think there's something so powerful about story and recognizing that these aren't just stories for someone, but there's something about us that's tied into that. And something we were just talking, Sarah, I think that was really cool is that as this becomes less of something that's happening over there, and as it becomes, like Pastor Gustavo says, like we're becoming family, those stories begin to start joining together. And that was so cool about even how we were talking about how the school that's being built, that someone, again, part of Light, just was like, hey, what if they had like a technology room and computer lab type thing, and some of the wetsuits that were donated are like top of the line wetsuits, and the shoes that we doing, and it's amazing watching people, and there's so many who take forever to say thank you individually, all of you guys, but I love what's happening is people's best are being brought to these people who've gone through so much.
Yes.
And I don't know, I just think that if that can continue to be the story, what a picture of the kingdom, of this upside down reality of these people who've gone through things that we don't even want to dream about, the hardship that they've gone through, would be met in a space.
Yes.
Because of Pastor Gustavo, people like you, other people who've given their time and passion to this, to see that. So any like kind of last encouragement, like if someone's like hearing this and they're stirred in their heart, things that they could consider, things that they could do to kind of maybe step into this or something like this, or
I think that looking at all of this, there really is just, I think sometimes we sit there and we just go, what do I really have to bring to the table? Do I have like anything of use? And what's been so amazing to see is volunteers come and people just in a face-to-face conversation, and to listen to a story. And even when we were there doing the shoes, one of the volunteers was there, and a woman was sharing with her that she had been trafficked at one point in her journey and gotten away, and she was just started sobbing, and without even thinking, this volunteer just grabbed her and put her in her arms, and they just had this very human moment, because just together, like there was no barrier, there was no border, there was no anything separating them, and it was just like all of a sudden they were sisters and they were caring for each other. And so even if you're you just want to come and give your tangible presence in your relationship, there's always space for that. We've had people come along on a trip because they want to find out what their part can be in it. And maybe you're sort of listening going, I don't know what it is, I just need to get there and see it. It's okay to not know yet, and to kind of just get there and sit back and watch and observe. So there really is space for anybody to get involved, to come or to give, or to have a lemonade stand and raise money for food, or whatever it might be. I think there's just anybody can get involved and be a blessing to these people.
So good. So you can always visit our website. Matt Johnson kind of helps coordinate a lot of those trips. You can send him an email. There's one coming up in July to help build a playground for that school that's going to be opening up. And we'd just encourage you just to be prayerful about finding yourself creating those really deep, strong human connections in space. And I think that would just be just the prayer, is that this really would become not something that we go to, but something that becomes a part of us. I know how much that community, the bravery of the women, the compassion of Pastor Gustavo, the joy of those kids is like shaped us, have taught us about Jesus. And I always think it's really important just to point out is in these types of scenarios, this is much less about what we bring and much more what we discover and what we get to experience about the goodness of God. So Sarah, thanks so much for just updating us and sharing us a little bit about the story and continuing to be a part of helping be that bridge for these two communities become a family. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.